Welcome to our October meeting, and for me, my first one back from holidays, so it's lovely to see you all. And before we begin, I would love to acknowledge that tonight we are gathered on the unceded and unsurrendered traditional territory of the 9 allied tribes of the Cochin-Shan Somaliac speaking nations. I would like to ask for an adoption of the agenda. I have Trustee Beal, seconded Trustee Dalton. All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. And I'm excited to share, we have a presentation this evening, and I will pass this over to Superintendent Samuel for introductions.
Great, thank you, Madam Chair. We are pleased tonight to have Vanya Ling to present to us about the partnerships and innovation in science. Vanya, it's all yours.
Okay, so where should I? First of all, okay, my name is Vanya Ling, and I teach a marine science course at Charles Hayes Secondary School. And I was asked to share what we've been doing for the past, I would say 4 years now. Yeah. Okay. So I'd like to acknowledge that I'm fortunate to be teaching and learning on the unceded Tsimshian territory of the Somaliac speaking people. And so my course, just is summarized in quick points, but this course focuses on the biological, ecological, and behavioral roles of the local marine species. We're building skills relevant to marine science careers and environmental stewardship, ocean systems monitoring, and outdoor recreation. It's hands-on, place-based learning through dissections and field trips. And we are learning traditional ways of preparing and cooking seafood as well. I thought that the easiest way to show what we've been doing is through photographs, and I take numerous photographs of our students learning on the land. And these are pictures of my class learning about the Dungeness crab. But it's place-based because myself and Miss Anderson, we kayaked or canoed and dropped some crab traps, and then managed to catch enough crabs for EcoTrust Canada to come in and teach our students how to biosample crab. And then after serving the different Dungeness crab, we had Miss Christina Layton, who's our food sovereignty mentor, help us boil the crab, and so we had a feast right after as well. So it was a wonderful day, and Prince Rupert cooperated with some sun, so yeah. We've also had the opportunity to go and harvest ulikin on the Skeena River. And so again, this is place-based learning, and where students have the opportunity to learn about the savior fish, the ulikin, and yeah, learn how to harvest. And this is an assignment that they were asked to do, and they wrote articles on their experience and what they learned about the land. We've also had the chance to explore Betsy Rapids and learning from Tina Robinson about the medicinal indigenous plants. And again, using their learning, they created a field guide with the scientific terms, but also the Somaliac language, as well as traditional uses of the things that they discovered while we're doing our walk. Yes. And so sometimes we have the opportunities where people bring us seafood to learn about. And so I believe this was from Metlakatla, and there was a big tote of butter clams. And so some of my students who were familiar with shucking the butter clams helped teach them each other like how to do it. And I was told that the first time you shuck a clam, you're supposed to eat it raw.
You are.
And so I did. And it was very sandy.
Well, you do actually rinse it in salt water. don't you?
Yes.
You didn't like you're eating it on.
Yes,
feed,
they failed to tell me any of that. And so here are more photos of harvesting and eating the food. We also had Tina Robinson, and she's brought us salmon to fillet and learn how to well, we fillet it, but before that, we do the scientific dissecting and learning all the different parts, and then learning how to, cook and eat it as well. So there's examples of ulican there, salmon, seaweed, crab. Yeah, we've definitely been feasting for the past few years. Okay. And we also take part in the Oldfield Fish Hatchery Salmonid Program. And so we have a tank in our classroom, and so when the fry are ready to be released, we go and we release them and wish them well on their adventure, and hopefully they can return and spawn after their time in the ocean. Okay. And so this is the scientific aspect part, the dissection, and so Oldfield Creek has also donated frozen salmon for us to dissect. Yeah. And so it's very hands-on, like they're right into it. Okay. And I've mentioned a couple of names, but this past wouldn't be able to function with all the collaboration that has been happening with the community. We have Chelsea from the Crab A Association. She's come in and talked about her career in crabbing and the crab fisheries, and she's in the past have brought us Dungeness crabs, so we can survey with EcoTrust. We have also Archipelago, and they've come in and talked about the ground fish, and also taken my students to aero trading, Ocean Canada Network, the North Coast Ecology Center, of course, Bob Sigaget, our Aboriginal Education Department, the Canadian Coast Guard have also come in. And so what I found is that there are a lot of people out there, especially locally, that really want our students to learn about the industry and want to help maintain it and know the importance of it, especially in Prince Rupert. And so in our school, there's also a lot of collaboration. So I wanted to mention some of the other teachers that have been involved in with this class as well. So Kelly Clifton, she's our Semantic Language and First Nations art teacher. And she's helping with the preservation of the Semantic language using local Adao true tellings to incorporate the use of language connected to harvesting. And both of our classes use the seasonal rounds as a guide for the learning and harvesting of local food. Christina Layton, our food sovereignty mentor, she's been so essential in bringing local food to our students and connecting with both students and families. Like she's really good at feeding us. And of course, Tina Robinson, knowledge keeper artist. She'll just text me and say, hey, I have a bag of squid, would you like it? And so and I'm like, yes. And so we learn about the squid and the anatomy, and then she came in and showed the students how to clean squid, and then I attempted in learning how to cook it. And so we didn't waste any of it. It was all put to good use. Yeah. So moving forward, we're building a smokehouse at Charles Age, and we see the smokehouse as the intersection of all of these programs. So the potential for collaboration around language, local cultural knowledge, science, historical and contemporary processing, and preserving of food. And so I don't know if it's gonna work, but these two little TikTok clips were made by former students, and it wasn't like a sign. They made this on their own because they were just so happy, excited to be learning. So
Semantic Calmos.
Apropos semantic calmos,อะไรเนี่ย
Apropos Semantic Calmos.
Oh.
So that was about crab, and she asked him if he liked crab, and yes, so.
At Samantha B. Calmos.
At Lupul Samantha Cal. Okay.
Royal second Gavin.
Southern Gavin Happy Hatsal.
At Samantha B. Hatsal.
Oh, at Lupul Samantha Happy Hatsal. At noon.
I at Samantha B. Hatsal.
Samak.
So she loves it. He didn't care for it. So, there were actually a couple of students former students who wanted to come and present with me, but one had to work and the other one had another obligation. So they wanted me to include this in this presentation. I think this course is important and should stay at this school to grow the knowledge about our local ecosystems. A lot of stuff that's taught in this course, I didn't even know beforehand, and my family is Indigenous. Living on Tsimshian land for many, many years, there is something for everyone in this course, and I highly recommend it. Throughout the course, there are many parts of Tsimshian culture when it comes to harvesting, and we had the chance to try and prepare food we wouldn't be able to get on our own. Here are some: halibut, octopus, squid, sockeye, and ulican. We even did a field guide on Grassy Bay ecosystem. And then this one I just included because I just thought it was really sweet. Hi, Miss Ling, I wanted to message and have been thinking of it for the past weeks, but finally found the time to text during the last week of school. I was so sick I could not make it for makeup day. I wanted to let you know how much I enjoyed your class. I'm now reconsidering my college studies and hope to see you around. Yeah. So I think all of us know the importance of place-based learning and its benefits. So it offers numerous benefits, and especially in a course like marine science. It's relevant, it's engaging, so students think it's fun. We connect to the community, holistic learning, cultural appreciation, hands-on experience, critical thinking, environmental awareness, personal learning, and long-term impact. So thank you. Thanks to me.
Thank you. I just had a question. Who's building the smokehouse with students from the school?
Yes,
That's
the
nice.
students have been working on it, and so it's volunteer basis. So Ben in the woodworking room, he's working with students, and I believe that they put the roof on and they just need the siding, and then it'll be good to go.
Oh, so you'll be doing a lot of fish next year.
Hoping to, but we need to get fish. That's another issue.
True, true. It's getting harder.
Yeah.
Trustee Horn?
I loved that you took all those pictures and showed us what the students and able to show them what they've been doing. Also, I like that you weaved in the traditional practices. That was fantastic. The more knowledge these students can have about our local marine ecology, the more they will be motivated to save it in the future for the rest of their lives, right?
Yeah.
So the more they know, the better off we're gonna be.
Mhm.
And the other thing I'd like to mention is that you obviously touched a chord with them so much that they made these TikToks and presented that feedback to you. That took a bit of work for them. And so that's showing that they attach themselves to what you were doing very well. So thank you very much for that.
Mhm. Yeah, that was a great presentation. Thank you. The more presentations we get on this, the better, because you see how engaged those children were. You know, not every girl wants to put a worm on a hook. Believe me, I used to have to put worms on everyone's hook to go fishing. When I see these young girls building fish, it's miles ahead, so.
Well, let's just say maybe not every person wants to put that worm on a hook. Any other comments from anyone on Zoom?
I'll just say that I've known a few students that have gone through your class, and all I hear is amazing things. And I would have very much enjoyed being in your class when I was in high school. It looks fantastic. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good
Yes.
job.
Ah, Wonderful. Thank you so much for coming to present to us tonight. Thank you for sharing what you're doing. Thank you for making an impact in students' lives, a positive impact. Thank you for showing the strength of community, collaboration, bringing in partners, holding our students up, sharing photos, taking photos of such huge smiles and engagement. And as Trustee Horn had said, I don't think anything speaks as well as students for themselves and creating TikToks, and it kind of chokes me up, the feedback that they gave you of how important you are to them. Thank you so much for what you do.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a great experience and I'm looking forward to more. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Vanya.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
3.1, sorry, approval of the minutes of the board. Open board meeting held on September 24th. Sorry, I just noted on there that James was listed twice under trustees present. So just,
On the minutes.
I must have said too much.
he's so nice, they listed him. I think that's what they say. Sorry, a motion to approve those as amended. Trustee Horn, seconded.
Everything there, so.
Trustee Beal. Wonderful. All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. And then necessity of closed meeting and agenda.
41349.
Yes, trustee Horn. Seconded, trustee Meyer. All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Correspondence, nothing addressed to the board at this time. And then 5.2 copy to the board. 5.2.1 letter from Jennifer McCray to Carolyn Brody, wishes of the board.
Receive and make a motion. to
Yep.
approve that.
A seconder
Second.
for that? Trustee
Trustee
Horn,
Pucci.
did you care? Sorry, trustee Pucci, did you care to speak to that motion? Wonderful. Receive and file. All in favor? So
Aye.
moved. Superintendent of Schools report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On page 12, you'll notice that we have listed the field trips that we currently have on file. Now, normally we give you the field trips for the month. And of course, we're a bit out of whack with this very short timeline from our last meeting to this meeting. And the other part is we will start getting requests for May and June, because we do encourage our staff to plan ahead. So they'll be coming more and more at the next meetings.
Wonderful. Any questions regarding that?
I do. How's the girls volleyball team doing? I haven't heard much. It's been silent.
Carla's still on? I would have to ask Carla Rourke.
Okay.
She's left.
I spoke to them when they were raising money.
Yeah, I know
For
that,
the
but I didn't get to
traveling,
speak. Are they're doing?
And so,
okay.
yeah, I talked to them a little bit about what they're raising their money for, so they gave me a good spiel about it. It was really good.
Wonderful. I do have, sorry to interrupt your report. There was a question on the, that was to come back an analysis of the next meeting that was in our meeting minutes. Would you visit that then after your report? We can come back to that.
Sure.
Wonderful. So, 6.1, thank you.
6.2 enrollment. For that, I turn to Sandra Pond, who is joining us via the electronic internet and highway known as Zoom.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. So we've included the enrollment graph on page 13. It shows 5 years of data. But it's kind of hard to see. It says that 24-25 is there, but I don't see it. As of our September 30th count, we have 1,802 students enrolled. And of those, 1,108 are Indigenous. And so, I had put 1,813 because that's where we thought we were at, but after we do all of our duplicate enrollments and all of these wonderful things that our 1701 count helps us to fine tune, we actually were at 1,802. So we are down from last year by about, I think we were 1,818 September 30th, 2023, just for some historical information. Any questions?
I do.
Yes, please.
So, these people that, these students that's moved out of the community, Sandy?
We had a very large graduating class, so that's part of it. So that whole cohort left, and our kindergarten cohort is quite a bit smaller, so that always makes a difference in our numbers. So we knew we weren't going to grow, but we thought we had quite a few new students coming in, but there's always in and out. It's very hard to know, right? What's really happening in our community. Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Any other questions for Ms. Pond? Not seeing any. 6.1.3 upcoming projects, learning and other.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, just on a side item, well, it's not on a side, it's part of my report as superintendent. As you know, the meetings that I start in the district with teachers, with other staff, with maintenance, with IT, my meetings always start with what I'm doing. I acknowledge the territory, but I also tell them what I'm doing. And frequently it's reading a book or something similar to that, such as attending a seminar and choosing to take Indigenous related content. So right now, I just want to say, because September was a bit of a lull for me, but after attending some of the Truth and Reconciliation, not celebrations, but memorial events, I just want to let everyone know. So currently I enrolled in, it's unusual, it's called the Outdoor Learning Store, and it's called the Foundations of Knowledge, 4 Seasons of Indigenous Learning. And the reason I signed up for it was it's a series of videos and readings and discussions. Is Jo Krohn is involved with it. So, you know, many of you know about her and the books she's written, and we've also had her here as a consultant many times. So that's my professional development for the next few months to work on that course. And it looks quite challenging.
Yeah.
So
And my great friend Richard Van Camp is faculty this year as well.
perfect. Okay. So that's my learning and what I do as a superintendent for you. Next is Terry Fox. As you know, we had a series of Terry Fox walks and sort of runs in the community, but at our schools, we had Roosevelt, Lahane, Pine Ridge, and PRMS. And I know the high school did activities in the gym. The outdoor event was canceled, but that moves into the Terry Fox and then the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. And of course, on September 27th, many people in the district, students and staff, wore yellow shirts to commemorate the past and to reflect. And many of the principals and vice principals talked about that in the notes they sent to me, that the Monday was not considered to be a holiday. It wasn't a day off. It was a day of reflection. And I think I'd mentioned that in my previous, saying that that day would be coming up and our schools would be closed. But many of the principals talked about that. It was very, you can have a number of students in the gym and it can be quite noisy, but when you start talking about this, students become very serious and reflective. So just thought I'd pass that on. Harvest lunches. I attended the Pacific Coast School luncheon. They had a turkey dinner with everything, all the fixins and stuffings, and the students helped prepare. Parents were there. It was a wonderful event, including your choice of chiffon or pumpkin pie. And so I had to have both because I'm a big guy. So it's great that students put their hands into it and of course the teachers helped a great deal. And
That's
so it's
very nice.
Wonderful,
Very
wonderful
nice.
event. World Teacher Day, you know, normally there are so many days, right? We have a month coming up, November, which is, you know, many of us participate in that, in honor of some of our family members, but World Teacher Day was October 5th, and I think I couldn't let this year go by without acknowledging that, you know, all of our staff do a great job. Our teachers are certainly, like we saw tonight with Vanya, presenting, you know, absolutely top-notch classroom experience for our students and challenging them in place-based learning and getting outdoors, and she's wonderful for doing that. But it's also the teachers around the world, and it's teachers such as even in, you know, our maintenance department where we had apprentices in the past, and that's teaching, you know, and I think it would be great for us to be known as a teaching institution for all of our positions, no matter what we're doing. Training is important, and having good teachers is part of that. I spoke at the Rotary Luncheon about 2 weeks ago. Rotary does a lot of work for our students, a lot of bursaries. They, for many years, sponsored apples in our schools, and the fee, you know, to purchase apples, you would think, oh, it's probably only a couple $100. No, it was, I think, over $20,000 a year. And you go, wow. So dedicated staff. So it's great to talk to them about what's going on in the district. And they asked they asked a lot of good questions. And so it's important community relations. Craft nights are coming. Don't forget, everyone is fighting over the Lester Center on when they can get in there. And there's a thing called the Great Shakeout, which is where we do earthquake drills.
Right.
Even at the board office, you know, get underneath the table. It's important because I think we're kind of due for one. So it's important for us to always be prepared and check our emergency kit to make sure we have some water, we have the first aid kit, and that it's up to date, not dried out.
Let's hope we're not up for one.
It's a statistical, anyways. Lastly, Marlene Clifton, as you know, is an extraordinary drummer. Marlene is from here, and Marlene will be coming up the last week of this month. And we have, we're going to pull her into our principal, vice principal, our administration meeting at the end of the month to do, instead of yoga with Brittany, we're going to do drumming with Marlene this time. And that is my report, Madam Chair.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Any questions for Superintendent Samuel? It is only the beginning and already it's full. Thank you so much. Wonderful. Now we will move on to the Secretary Treasurer report. Oh, no, sorry. Sorry, my error was 6.1.31 News Spaces Daycare update.
Right, Madam Chair, we will be bringing forward the contract for renewal of the Discovery Childcare Facility. We're just finishing up negotiations with them, and then we'll bring that forward to you at the next appropriate moment for ratification.
Thank you so much. And before we move on to the Secretary Treasurer report, the item that I had noted in the minutes was from 5.1, and it states questions about fees for geographical testing increasing. We will have a full analysis next meeting, and I just wanted to share that we'll look at that for our November meeting.
Yes.
Thank you. Secretary Treasurer report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So item 7.1, September expenditure reports, that is starting on page 14. It's your 2 regular monthly financial reports as of September 30th, 2024. So we'll just go through that first report, the report by category. So just a reminder, since this is our second meeting now of the year. So that first column is our 24-25 preliminary annual budget. Next column is our year-to-date actuals. The third column is our percentage remaining for the year. And the fourth column is our percentage remaining expected. So that's based off of where we expect to be as of September 30th. And then the next column is our year-to-date budget. and then our year-to-date variance. So for our 10-month categories, so for example, an easy one to explain this would be our teachers. So our teachers are 10 months over the year. So we expect for them to be at about 90% at the end of September. And then our 12-month categories, we expect them to be at about 75% at September 30th. And then I just wanted to point out as well on the far right-hand column, some of the larger variances. So that year-to-date variance column. So the first one is the support staff salary. So you can see that we're under budget by 108,000. And just to further explain this to the trustees and to the public, part of this reason is because of the preliminary budget figures is consistent with where we were at last year. So at the end of last year as well, we were under budget in the support staff salary as well. And part of that is because our preliminary budget for the current 24-25 year is based off of similar figures that we had at the amended budget last year. So that will be corrected when we work on the amended budget for the current year going forward. And the next one is the other professionals' salary. So we are over budget in that category due to staff reductions that haven't taken place as of September 30th. Do we have any questions?
Trustee Horn?
Yes, thank you, Britton. Can you please tell me what groups form each of the categories? Teacher's salary is made up of which people? Principals and vice principals is pretty obvious. Educational assistant salary, what groups within that? Support staff, other professionals, and substitutes.
So the teachers are our classroom teachers. Yeah, like you mentioned, principal, vice principals is self-explanatory. Educational assistants, those are EAs that are in our classrooms as well. Support staff is made up of, for example, secretaries, custodians, maintenance, those types of categories. Other professionals, those are our exempt staff. So for example, our board office staff. And substitutes are substitutes for our teaching positions, but they're also replacements for our other positions as well.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Yes, trustee Meyer.
I just wanted to ask about on the second form, line number or function 8. Where am I? Function 1, instruction, line 8 for counseling. I think counselors are on a 10-month salary, but we're running almost 9% behind because I think they should be around 90. Just wondering if we're going to then see that at a consistent basis and we'll have to amend in February, or what is happening in there?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So yeah, that would be one of the items like you suggested that we'll be taking a closer look at for the amended budget. And then amending the budget as necessary.
Can I ask a question on that too? So counseling, not necessarily, is it on a 9-month cycle, right? It's all dependent on the person in the position, so that could be skewed in here if someone wants to be in a 12-month, right? So this figure's not gonna be accurate anyway.
Yeah, they would all, sorry. Brittany.
I'm not sure if there is any 12 month.
There are no 12 months.
None here?
No.
Oh, okay, because I have friends and other that are in the 12-month cycle.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm asking,
Yep.
so
No,
if
it's a
it's
good
skewed
question.
or not.
And also my question was just on the governance, which I believe we fall under, and how we're tracking. And so that's just something that I would ask more questions about moving forward. And perhaps we could just see what's happening there.
Yeah, I can look deeper into that for you for next time.
Wonderful, thank you. Any further questions? Okay. Not seeing any. 7.2.
So 7.2 on page 16 is the 2024 capital project update. And we do have Mr. Horn in, I'm sorry, Mr. Warburton in the room to answer any questions if you have any.
Trustee Horn.
We were just,
James, you've got Conroe Fire Protection getting an engineering study.
Yes.
Like, how long does that expected to take that study? Like, it begins in the summer, it'll take like a acting it.
It's looking at any time now, yeah, so
Okay.
what they're looking at is they're looking at specifically attic space above the really peak roof in there, because that all has to be fire protected and changed, and so that's their worst spot, so they want to start with the worst areas and then work their way down, so we should have a very good report on exactly what they recommend changing immediately, and then we can work that into our capital plans.
Thank you. And then second part would be these MERV 13 filters. I see there's a lot of work being done in Roosevelt.
Yes.
Can you tell us a bit about those filters? I mean, I see
Absolutely.
written their name in there specifically.
Yep, so that's kind of the new standard. There's been the word MERV 13 has really been thrown around, especially through COVID. And what that is it's a rating on the filter density and how small a particle could be filtered out. And typically, our older unit ventilators were all MERV 8 rated. The next step up is MERV 13. And so all of our new unit ventilators are rated for MERV 13. We couldn't upgrade our older unit ventilators to MERV 13 at the time because the motors aren't strong enough to handle the restriction of air movement. And so now the new unit ventilators are capable of MERV 13.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Any other questions for Mr. Warburton? Not seeing any. 7.3.
So September 2024 Operations Department Report on page 18. Any questions?
Trustee Horn.
It's great to see that our buses that are getting lots of use. So thank you to all the people that organize and distribute the buses. Thank you.
Trustee Leo.
just curious, what percentage are we at, James, with the commercial kitchen now?
We are waiting for electrical to be began, so they had to be, the engineers had a little bit of hiccup with the electrical side of things. It's all been approved, and so now we're just waiting for electrical to start. So I'd say, we're almost finished all the rough end, which would be just over 50%.
Oh, nice,
Yeah.
thanks.
So and maybe you can't answer this, moving forward with, perhaps say the electrical stage starts to happen soon, when would the ETA be for the,
We're still hoping to have it done before Christmas.
oh, wow,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Senior, thank you for both of these reports. 7.4.
September 2024 Information Technology Department Report on page 19. And opening it up for any questions.
Trustee Horn.
I don't have any specific question, yes, but thank you for your department. I had to come down and get some technical work done on one of my machines. So thank you for your department helping.
Thank you for, all the teams are working.
Yes.
Thank you.
Trustee
I
Leo.
just actually have a question because we've been having a lot of bumps in our electrical, and I know it's caused me some issues with my technology, so are we having any impact because of these? I know that we have surge protectors in Canada Post, but we actually had one fail and it didn't save one of our computers. So are we having any issues with these bumping? Like, we're getting regular bumps, right? Because we got 2 or 3 different grids going on. So I know that you're getting bumps because you're on the same grid I am on the west side. So any damage to our technology, any damage to our equipment?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Actually, it's a really good one. We recognize that over last year, the amount of power outage was increasing. So what we have done is to protect the core equipment. We have upgraded the UPS to all the schools. So we have now almost equipped to 40 minutes of backup in each school, trying to have that. So we're trying to protect the core device, which would be switch and the routers and the other access points. In terms of classroom, we try to keep the high valuable assets, give them a little power backup. So anybody who has a power user will try to protect that, but for other end user, we're trying to see what we can do. But there were few computers that died during this power outage in different schools, but it wasn't significant enough for us to be concerned.
Okay, I'm just curious, because it could become a costly venture for us if we don't have the right protection in place. I was thinking I should ask that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for being so proactive.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Any further questions? Maximilian, thank you so much for your report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that complete for you? It is. Thank you so much for your reports. Now Finance and Building Committee, Trustee Beal,
Actually, I was on Zoom. I asked
Trustee Meyer.
Trustee Meyer but I think the only item that I know of is the expenditure report, isn't it, Christie?
Yeah,
Was there anything? Yes,
no, just the expenditure report.
and we already heard that. So
Wonderful. 8.2 Framework for Enhanced Student Learning.
Nothing, no meeting at this last.
And at this time, we will have Ms. Pond, who will share with us these handouts.
Yeah, am I able to share screen, Dinesh or Tamara? And before I do that, I just wanted to say that we haven't met, the Framework for Enhancing Student Learning Committee has not met yet. However, the work, as we've talked about a number of times over the year, the framework is something that's happening all year. And so as part of the framework, we submitted the annual Enhancing Student Learning Report last month. And so my hope is to speak to that data every month a little bit. And so today, Andrew and I decided that we would start with the completion rate data that we have. So this is the 6-year completion rates for School District 52. This one can be found in that public facing document that the ministry provides when you go to the ministry website. And this is the 6-year completion rate. Under our priorities, this completion rates are part of our equity priority. We have put a number of strategies in place, and I know that Charles Hayes and PCS have changed, done some work on their own systems to make a difference in our completion rates by doing a number of things to ensure that students are more aware of what they need to graduate, that we're tracking them more closely. We have Indigenous coach mentors that are working with students to help them on their path to graduation, and we're seeing some improvement as a result of this. So this report, along the top, you can see that the gray part is actually showing what's happening in the middle districts in the whole province. So this is where they're sitting. The orange band shows where we've been over the past 5 years, the typical range over the past 5 years. And the orange dot or the yellow dot shows where we are right now. So you can see that right now we are actually we're at the top of our range ever for our completion rates, for the 6-year completion rates. And the orange band shows the range over time, over the last 5 years. So that's a very good news story. And it shows that for all of our students, we're at 92%. Indigenous students, we're at 73%. And our students with diverse needs are at 62%. So we have work to do. We're not there. We're not at parity. We've got work to do. But we can celebrate that we're seeing improvement. And so that's we always want to be encouraging everybody in that. And you can see here you can see that we're on an upward trend for students with diverse needs, for Indigenous students, and for all of our students. So that's our 6-year rate. Now we really want to focus on our 5-year rate, and this piece is actually in our AESL data that the ministry sent to us, and we did some analysis of this. And this data shows us our 5-year rate. So 5-year means that the students started in grade 8 and graduated in grade 12, whereas 6-year means that they needed an extra year in order to complete. So you can see that our 5-year rates are also improving quite dramatically. However, we are still very concerned about some of our groups of students. We're not at parity, and we have work to do to get there. So that's the dogwood and the adult dogwood. And then this one you can see is just the rate, 5-year completion rate for the dogwood. And you can,
Online.
and it is in the annual Enhancing Student Learning Report.
Great.
Yeah, I think the things to note are, and we've spoke about this when we did the analysis in our annual Enhancing Student Learning Report. If you read through that, we've analyzed what's going on here, what we're seeing, and we've, in our educational operation plan, we've listed some of the things we hope to do this year to improve even more, and to make sure we're keeping an eye on students with designations, and children and youth in care, and our Indigenous students on reserve, so that we've got a better eye on how to support and how to help them, how to improve completion rates. So
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry, I'm sorry that you can't see this other one. I can't understand why, but there's
And I
something.
do have trustee Pucci with a question.
Yeah, I just was some clarity from the definition of BC residents and all students.
Okay. So BC residents would be all of our students except for our international students.
Okay.
And all students would include our international students, which
And then-
is a
and
very
then-
small number.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then secondly, I encourage all public parents and even groups that don't have students to engage this document. It is a fantastic one to understand the plan behind what we're doing to help and move and continue that upward trend. This is not something we stumble upon. This is something that Sandra and her team have worked very hard over the last several years and continue to work hard on. And I think that the public really should take a look at. It's not something that happens overnight, and we pay attention to what's happening in our schools very closely. Thank you.
Thank you, trustee Pucci. Trustee Horn?
Thank you, Sandy, for your report, and it's great that we're able to see the results of the work that you guys have been doing. And a chance to celebrate the achievements that we've made so far, and the fact that we've got more to do yet. So thank you very much for your work.
Thank you. And I should add that this is for 22-23, so we're still not, this year's data won't come in until November, so we're kind of excited to see what we might have accomplished. Yeah.
And thank you so much for bringing data to each meeting, because this is how we can gauge how we are doing with what we are doing, and it is so vital. And it is great to hear that we will have a piece, I'm hearing, of the framework at each of our meetings, if I'm understanding correctly, which is lovely.
That's what, is that correct, Sandy?
That's our plan.
Thank you for all your hard work, Sandy.
Yes, thank you. I'm aware of the reports that you create, oh my goodness, every month, and so thank you so much for all of your work.
Thank you.
Wonderful. 8.3 Provincial Council, trustee Horn?
Yes, it's coming out on 25th. I'm traveling down to Vancouver for that
October?
in this month. Yes, coming out not next week, end of next week.
So we will expect to hear.
Yeah,
And
the following
November?
week.
Wonderful, thank you. Indigenous Education Committee. So as you note on here, it is now stated Indigenous Education Council. What I would like to share is there's been a change that has come from Ministry of Education and Childcare, that this is no longer a committee that we would be putting somebody on. This is a council that rights holders will be creating and will then be inviting who would be at that table.
That would not, can I ask a question?
Yeah, I think Andrew wanted to say something.
Yeah, correct. So I was invited to the first meeting and we discussed a number of things. I did my standard superintendent's report where we're at in school startup. And neither Roberta nor I can vote because we're school board employees. There were representatives from Kitkatla, from Metlakatla and Black Squalams. And then Denise Esham is co-chairing with Cam Hill. Cam was not able to attend, but Denise was there. And as you know, Denise also represents Hartley Bay. Yeah.
So it represents Gate Camp, okay.
Yeah.
So that probably means going forward when we appoint various committees, and that means we're actually not appointing anyone to add.
That will no longer be a committee on our sheet.
So we have no involvement, I suggest, right, at all?
Right, it's because as the ministry has told us, interesting, we had a session with the deputy minister, the assistant deputy minister, no, the superintendent for Indigenous Education, Brad Baker, and he reminded us that it will be messy, it will be sticky, it will be as this council moves forward, because it's not, the regulations have not come out. However, it is based currently on Bill 40 that was passed in actually November of 2023. And the ministry has requested that superintendents assist boards in meeting with the Indigenous Education Councils to further the dispute resolution mechanism. As rights holders, they have, as you know, they have the ability to provide advice to the board on anything that affects Indigenous students. So that's, I mean, for us, that's 60-some percent, 64, 63% of our students are Indigenous. There may be a call coming to have both boards meet, or their council and this board meet. And that's largely the issue of the terms of references have been decided already, and I'll forward a copy to you. And but the dispute resolution mechanism is, you know, how will we move forward on issues of spending? And that's an important thing. Representation, you've received ministry advice that we're unable to just appoint additional trustees to the board. And so that's something that I know is still a topic within the ministry.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions? 8.5, Policy Committee, Trustee Horn.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to make a motion to approve policy 1410, District Code of Conduct and Anti-Racism Policy.
And do you have a seconder, Trustee Beal? I have a question of this.
Thank you.
My question is, what is the rationale of having a district code of conduct and an anti-racism policy all in one, as opposed to a district code of conduct policy and then an anti-racism policy?
We spoke about this actually
Yeah.
at the meeting, and so I'll pass this to Andrew to explain better than I probably can.
Well, the district code of conduct is generally directed at students, and the the anti-racism policy is really, it's for all staff. Board makes the rules for, you know, the organization. But we as the bureaucracy, it's not, it's a bad word. The staff make the superintendent makes the regulations that, and looks at the codes of conduct so that each of our schools has a code of conduct. And then there's the district code of conduct, because as you know, severe violations come to the board through the district support committee. Does that answer your question?
Not really.
I think the reasoning behind having them combined is because there's not just this policy that relates to this, but this was the best way to put all the
I'll
things
explain how
together.
it happened. They decided to mesh the policy together so that it covered a broader sense of the policy, the code of conduct. Embedded everything in there to protect the legislation and the regulations, because in hindsight, when you look at the code of conduct, there's things missing, and where this here meshed things together so that there wasn't things missed in protecting our students.
So if I could ask another question, is that why this covers code of conduct, this covers personal electronic devices, this covers anti-racism?
Yes.
Is it to be a blanket policy to cover
Blanket,
many things?
yes.
Correct, Madam Chair. Policy is meant to be overarching, and by definition, policy is vague. The regulations, the actual, you know, iPad devices or Windows devices is up to the staff to look at and to address through additional regulations.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much for that answer.
A policy is no good without a regulation. There's nothing in a policy.
So we have a motion on the floor to approve this policy. All in favor? So moved. Thank you.
And then I'd like to make a motion to send for review policy 5310, volunteer policy, 6110, vision, mission and foundational principles policy, and 6130, role of the board policy.
And a seconder for that?
Like,
Trustee
or
Beal?
Pucci.
Thank you. And I have a question for this as well. May
Yep.
I ask? Wonderful. 6130. The role of the board is to govern and to set policy for the school district. I'm curious if we would not include there also in regards to our role in overseeing the superintendent, as well as our role in balancing a budget.
Thank you.
Governance, it should be include governance, which is inclusive of our financials. So with Andrew, though, you're absolutely right, we should probably not, I looked at that, but I don't sit on policies, so I didn't know if you guys debated it out or not.
The role of the board is to govern and set policy. So if the board members would like to make a change to that, like, certainly do.
It can go out and come back to us for further, or it can just not go out and.
Does any of the other board members online wish to have this returned to the policy committee?
Trustee
Discussion?
Pucci?
I don't wish to have it returned to the policy committee. I believe that it doesn't have to be specific line by line. I think it could be interpreted and allows for this current policy allows for, should we wish to augment in the future, whatever we wish. And I think that it's inclusive currently and provides for enough flexibility should we wish something to change.
I would offer that this is when we would be sending this out to our stakeholders and our partners, and they would be offering feedback. And so I don't know that I'm allowed to do this, but I would ask that we have a bit more of what the role is on that line.
Before it gets sent out.
at any time
I'll make
before
that
it's.
motion that, well, James has already got a motion on the
Yeah.
floor
Yes.
for 3. I think in good faith, we send it out and then it gives us time before it's adopted, we can implement something.
A change if
Yeah,
necessary.
necessary adjustments.
So we have a motion on the floor to send these out and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Daniel has a question.
Yeah,
Well,
please.
I did, but when we say these, are we talking about 6130 and 6110?
No, just the one.
5310, 6110, and 6130.
All three of them.
All three have
Yes.
been sent.
We're going out, yeah,
Send
so-
for review.
I get
Yeah.
that. I just want to know if all three were two, which one?
Did you get your right answer?
I did, Madam Chair, to Kendall.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
No further business of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. 8.6, District Technology Steering Committee, Trustee One.
Did not sit in the last section.
Oh,
All right.
old business. Amy?
No.
New business, 10.1. Admin assistant, team leaders and department heads, page 27. Superintendent Samuel?
Great, in your chair, Madam Chair, in your packages, it's getting late. In your packages, you'll see that we provide this information to you. And find work with staff volunteering to take on leadership roles. I think it's great.
Awesome.
Thank you for that. Any
Thank you.
questions?
Good lineup.
Not seeing any. Information items, 11.1, Professional Development Day is October 25th. As trustee Horn had shared, we will be heading down to the provincial council, October 25th and 26th. 11.3, the BCPC symposium is November 7th and 8th, and my understanding is trustee Meyer will be attending. Wonderful. 11.4, Remembrance Day, November 11th. And 11.5, our next meeting is November 19th. And prior to that, we will have a meeting the week prior for elections, correct?
For what day is that?
I believe, one moment, I can check right now.
November 5th, I think.
Just
look on the
It is,
it's the 5th. I think I did.
November 5th?
yes, it is November 5th at 7 p.m.
Is it here or is it in town?
Here.
Okay,
So, November 5th, 7 p.m., we will have a special meeting just for voting purposes. And then 11, and then we will have our regular Board of Education meeting on November 19th. We now have a 10-minute question and answer period. A second call for questions.
Sorry, I can't figure out how to put my hand up.
Please go ahead.
Okay. So I just had a couple of questions. The first one was in regards to the treasurer report. I know that she explained the other professional salary and the reason for the difference between the percent for the remaining year and the percent expected, but I couldn't quite hear her when she responded to that, so I was just wondering if she could say that again.
Yep, so that, I'm assuming you're talking about the third and the fourth column on the first report, correct? Thank you. So the third column percentage remaining for a year, that is based off of the full 24-25 preliminary annual budget column. And that percentage remaining expected, that fourth column, that is where we expect to be as of September 30th, based off of the category. So behind the scenes, the calculation for that is different based on what category it is. So for example, the teachers category is based off of a 10-month period, whereas some of the other categories are based off of a 12-month period. Does that help?
So the difference is higher because of the month spread?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, and then I have one more question if no one else does.
Please go ahead.
Okay, so in regards to policy 6130, I was just wondering if the board got any responses to the questions that they sent to Tamara Davidson.
Wait a second, I'll back up.
And that's really not in policy.
So I wouldn't, I'd have to pass this with Andrew, I would think. Was the response of that?
Well, 6130 hasn't gone.
Hasn't gone
through
out,
yet.
right? It's going out now.
Yeah.
Right,
So the trustees would have a chance to change it.
yes, thank you.
We didn't do anything for Tamara Dixon.
Did that answer your question?
Well, it was just, I guess, because it on the policy, it says that, like for advocating, so I was just wondering if those questions were sent to Tamara or not.
They wouldn't be just sent to Tamara, they would be sent to both candidates, and they haven't been.
Thank you. Any other questions? Last call for questions. Well, not seeing any, we are adjourned, and thank you all so much for attending. And to the trustees present, we will see you on the other link. Please take a 5-minute to refresh yourself, however you need, and we'll see you on the other link. Thank you all so much. Have a lovely night.
I would be send just questions to one.